Mutual funds are a great way for investors to get diversification in their portfolio. Fees, focus, and investment strategy are among the many ways a mutual fund can stand apart. Here to present the Luffy for Best Mutual Fund, Robert Brokamp.
Our first nominee in the category is one of the best performing funds over the past year, earning 24%, while the S&P 500 has dropped 8%, and that is the Grizzly Short Fund. Its ticker is GRZZX. GRZZX. So it is 100% short all the time, meaning that if stocks drop, it makes money. So that's great. However, it may not win the category. A little spoiler here, because actually over the last 10 years, its return has been a minus 8%. In fact, if you bought it 10 years ago, 2006, put $10,000 into it, you'd now have less than $4,000. So going short the market, betting that the market is going to drop over the long term, not a good deal. In fact, actually, even this company in their annual report says this is not a buy and hold fund. People use it to hedge their portfolios or something like that. So that is nominee number one.
Purely for this year's returns.
Purely for this year's returns. So nominee number two, formerly known as the Vice Fund. This
sounds good.
Yeah,
this socially irresponsible fund has beaten the S&P 500 over the past 1, 5, and 10 years by investing in stocks of companies that produce profits from people who smoke, drink, gamble, and arm themselves to the teeth. It is the USA Mutual's Barrier Investor Fund, but the ticker is still Vice X.
Was the fund originally called like Vice Dirty Naughty Things?
It was called,
and then they were like, wait a second, no one wants to invest in this. Let's call it USA Mutual's Barrier.
Yes, because
it's like they picked 3 random words out of a bag that they thought people would trust.
So they say
barriers
they call
sound
it
good.
barriers now because they're investing in companies with high barriers of entry.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So like it's tough to go up against Boeing as a weapons manufacturer, for example, or any of those types of companies. And they also said, quote, they wanted to raise assets and not raise eyebrows with the name of their company. But
that's cute.
Here's the interesting thing about it. It really has done very well by investing in the type of stuff that everyone wants and a lot of people want, a lot of people need, a lot of people do, regardless of the economy. It has pretty much slammed the S&P 500 over the last 10 years.
So to clean your karma, you can also invest in a socially conscious mutual fund with maybe half the money.
Right, exactly.
Hedge your soul.
Exactly. That's your penance by investing on this side. The downside of this fund is it does have a high expense ratio, almost 1.5%. So there you go. Nominee number 3, this fund has done pretty well over the last year or so by investing in companies that have women represented in their board of directors or their management. It is the Pax Elevate Global Women's Index Fund, ticker PXWEX.
They couldn't get Girl X.
Well, here's the interesting thing about this fund. It is used to be a different type of fund many years ago. So if you look at its long-term history, it's not so good, but it changed its strategy to follow this index that highlights companies that do a better job of having gender equality among its management. So it has done well over the last year and a half since it followed this strategy, but that's one of the downsides of it. It's a relatively new strategy, so will it continue to outperform over the long term? Who knows? But compared to other global funds, and this is a global fund, invests in companies from all over the world, it's actually done pretty well. But
Ladies.
Woo!
Getting it done.
And finally,
Who is the winner?
the winner is going to be that person who kind of always comes up on stage because
Daniel
in the end-
Day-Lewis. It's the Daniel Day-Lewis
They always
Luffy
win.
winners, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it is the S&P 500 Index Fund. And there are all kinds of choices actually out there, but the one that has been around the longest, Vanguard 500, symbol VFINX, it's been around since 1975. And over the last 3, 5, 10 years, it has performed in the top 10 to 20% of U.S. large cap funds. And we talk about index funds all the time. It's just very, very difficult to beat index fund. In fact, the Barrier Fund has performed over the last 10 years, this is the Vice Fund, in the top 8% of large cap funds. And it beat the S&P 500 by 0.5% a year. So just by beating the S&P 500 by a measly 0.5%, you're in the top 8%. That's how difficult it is, and that's why going with an index fund is such a smart move.
And you feel dirty.